Chinese New Year Doodles to take away my no travel blues. It's been a hard year. The last time I traveled was last year Chinese New Year. I'm from a town called Klang in Malaysia where I was born and grew up. Of course, now I lived in Singapore for the past 20 years. Each Chinese New Year, I would go home and be reunited with my families to see them. Lots of uncle and aunties I don't see often, once a year. But this year, no travel. So, what do? Well, I decided to sketch a way to take away some of the blues and also to remind me some of the things I like or I love to see and eat during Chinese New Year. Love letters are these really crunchy, cookies that the Lunar New Year comes along, and you will be, having lots of these. Sometimes you'll be having too much of these. They are crunchy, they are lovely, they are really nice and yummy. You can really eat or feast too much on it. The next thing that I really miss would be the pineapple tarts. They are sort of little things that, cookies, but they are pineapples stuffing, and the best one aren't that sweet, but they are really, really yummy as well. And I think, by just sketching them, I'm already feeling the pang of missing home. This one I don't really eat a lot unless it's after the Chinese New Year and it's sliced up and fried. It's actually quite yummy once it's fried, but before it's fried, it's actually not that good. It's very sticky in the mouth, and there's lots of story you can Google up about how the Chinese tried to bribe the kitchen god not to report bad things on the family by having him munching away on sticky stuff. And the next one you see a lot on some of the shops in Singapore here and in this part of the world, the fortune cat. I personally don't really like it, but hey, you just go with the flow. It is, after all, supposed to bring you good luck. But anyway, it's kind of cutesy, and sometimes the mechanical parts are just, annoying. Anyway, coming year is gonna be metal ox, or ox, the zodiac. But can't really get away from having an ox in this sketch. I've done some this year, but just stick one into the doodles wouldn't help. Slight overlap there, pushing the ox in front. And the next one's lion dance. I don't know how much we're gonna see lion dance this year. Probably some. There will be still some troops going around, but in normal years you will see lots of these and lots of troops going around, and usually very noisy, cymbal clanging and the drums beating away, and with a good majestic performance of the various troops. So there you go, the sketches or the doodles for the Chinese New Year blues takeaway. Once the sketch is done, let's start painting. Let's start with the love letter. Bit of quinacridone gold, and just let the brush dance around. You don't really want to paint everything inside the line, like you were taught when you were 2 years old or 3 years old. No. You want to paint across the line, over the lines, and just not inside the line, or just some parts of it and leave lots of white, and have it dance around. There's really no logic to it other than the fact that I'm just playing. Splatter as much as you can get away with it, and basically just learn to control the movement of the water and so on. The next one is there's a bit of a queen burnt orange to basically paint the top of the niangao. Queen burnt orange mixed with a little bit of green, the green gold, and the darker part will be a dash of phthalo green in it as well, and just to create where the shades and where the lighter parts of the niangao is, and basically just have a bit of variation to it, leave lots of white, and have your brush dance around. And the next part is I'm going to dip into the orange bit of the pineapple tarts. As you can see, I'm going back with some of the colors to the other cookies as well, so that there's a bit of a repetition of the same colors across the entire sketch. Occasionally when you sketch lots of different things on the same sketch page, you find that they don't really work very well together, because you have one kind of color scheme on one object and another color scheme on another object. They just don't jive. In all things in your sketch, strive for unity, because it is one sketch after all in the same page. Well, there are different sketches of different things, but you want to remember they are actually just one page. So you want to have some kind of a unity. And usually unity, you can have the elements of colors or the elements of design, such as shapes, and your visual signature from object to object, so that they are a bit more cohesive, a bit more unified, if you like. And that's actually very, very important. And I think for a sketch like this, you don't really want to have two different color scheme. They will clash on the same page. It probably won't work. In this case, it is a bit more of a orangey, bluish, with a bit of a purple colors. You can think of it as probably orange blue. You can see that I'll try to put a bit more blue later on. A bit of red in the center of the niangao, according to the decoration on the in the photograph. And again, I use the same colors to deep dab back to the pineapple tarts, as well as the cat, the fortune cat. I don't really go for the realistic colors, as you can see. So here you go, the blues, to really sharpen the contrast between orange and blue. You can never go wrong with that color combination. But of course, I press the color a little bit, in the sense that there's yellow in the orange and there's red in the orange, just like there's a bit of red in the blue to make it purple. So it's not just a straight orange blue combination, but a slight variety based on the two base color. I'm also going in on the metal ox. In this case, I'm just using simple values technique to read where the lights are falling and where the shadows are, and give it the first layer, and the background, just to make the ox pop out. You would have seen some of my other videos. One of the technique to make something pop in front is by painting something negatively with a much darker color and shape, and that's what I just did at the back. In the same way, it was also the same concept with the fortune cat. Use a diffused background, and you can see that the cat essentially has just been pushed out to the front. It does work every time like a charm. Basically, the background being darker and the foreground being lighter. Try it. I mean, you've seen some of my other videos, they work. And it is one of the easiest technique to learn. A bit darker shadows on the metal ox, just to again create a bit more of a three-dimensional structure to the form. The form is basically two-dimensional on a piece of paper, but once you put 2 or 3 various shades of values, you will see that the three-dimensional structure sort of pops out. And it's a simple way of depicting form on a piece of paper. I'm going with lots of yellow, different shades of yellow if you like, on the cat. One thing about yellow is that it's a very small color space. In other words, yellow is actually very limited. There's only a few sort of yellow you can paint. Warmer yellow and green, cooler, greener yellow, and that's about it. Not much else you can say about yellow. Of course, the opposite of yellow in terms of color space is green. Green is horribly complex to paint. Anyway, back to the lion dance. I'm going in with the first version, or the first layer of red, as you can see in the photograph, the yellow, and I try to put a bit of shade on the yellow, inside at the bottom, which is sort of shaded. Again, I'm going in with some of the same colors on the various cookies and so on and so forth. Again, trying to create unity across my sketch. Not trying to be too fancy, but unity is always more desirable. A bit of shadows at the bottom of the nian gao, a bit of shadow as well at the bottom of the pineapple tart, just to make it three-dimensional and as if it's sort of coming alive, if you like. Shadows is very important. If you learn how to deal with shadows, I think you will make your sketches more alive and more three-dimensional. So we continue with the lion dance, the lion troupe, if you like, and that is basically the sort of dark shapes at the bottom. I don't really intend to put too much detail, but I try to put the values right. The shadows at the bottom and also across. Typically, I try to have the same shape that runs across two shapes, or it's broken in a way, but at least you can see it unified, even though it's broken. Somehow your mind will connect the two pieces of shadow on the left and right of the fortune cat. A bit of shadows on the cat itself. According to the photograph, I try to just more or less copy the values that I see on a photograph. Not trying to be very accurate, just trying to copy as I see it. Sometimes I don't really think too much. I'm just letting my hand guided by my eyes and as little interference in between by my brain or mind, it's better. So it becomes very relaxing when you're sketching like that. What you see, you go straight into the hand and you put it down. You don't really think too much. You're trying to translate directly with the eye without having the mind intruding and disturbing your thoughts. The more your mind intrudes, you will not really be sketching what you see, you'll be sketching what you think you see. The thinking is the one that kills a lot of sketches. Yeah, it's very complicated and deep, but it's true. Sketching what you see rather than what you think you see is one of the hardest lesson sketcher or artist will have to learn, especially one that paint from live on site. It is one of the hardest lessons actually. Anyway, I'm just going around putting more shadows, darkening some of the shapes, and creating interesting texture lines and so on and so forth. Not trying to destroy the work anymore at this point, but trying to separate lines or just giving clarity. The point of all of these is to make your sketch more readable. In fact, sometimes you just gotta look away from a photograph. You're looking at the sketch itself, and you're gonna ask yourself this question: what can I do at this point to make it more readable? Readable as in your audience can interpret it better in their mind, and not so much as trying to, in fact, there's no such thing as just slapping on the colors, but at some point it needs to translate to something. So at this stage of editing, is taking a step back, forgetting the photograph, and just looking at what can be made more readable. Sometimes it's just adding some lines, sometimes it's adding some dots here and there, or changing colors, or putting some shades, or darken something, and so on and so forth. Anyway, those are just little things that you will learn through the years as you sketch more and more with experience. So that's it. I just want to wish all of you, for those of you who celebrate, a very blessed Lunar New Year, year of the Metal Ox, and may it bring happiness, joy, and peace wherever you are. Whee Teck out.